G'day, welcome back to the Open for Business podcast. My name's Anthony, and today on the show, we're talking to Australia's own Brett Campbell. He's a serial entrepreneur, author, speaker, and the chief evangelist of Klaxon, an award-winning digital agency based on the Gold Coast in Queensland. Today, Brett is going to share his insights on how you can connect with highly successful people, why digital marketing is vital for business growth in today's environment, how to scale your business using digital marketing, why businesses should invest in a digital agency, and he's also going to give us his thoughts on the social media platform that people are currently sleeping on. So, to get all of that and more, it's a fantastic episode. Can't wait to get stuck into it. Let's jump right on in. All right, Mr. Brett Campbell, very excited to have you on the show today.
Mate, pleasure to be here.
It's fantastic to finally be chatting, kind of face to face. Been following the Brett Campbell journey for quite some time, so it's a bit of a buzz to be able to interview today, mate. Very excited,
mate, and I appreciate you for following along the journey. I've seen you pop up on social a lot, and you know, one tactic straight out of the gate for everyone listening. You know, if you want to get on someone's radar, just be in front of them consistently. You know,
100%. Be social.
So, mate, yeah, be social, interact with people's comments, you know, give them some love, give them a thumbs up here and there, comment on their stories, goes a long way. You'll be surprised. Like, a lot of people think that, you know, it's so hard to land or to communicate or to connect with certain people. And it's like, you know, a lot of people out there are you know, and the more successful I find in many cases, now, of course, sometimes there's more hoops to jump through all of that, but the more successful, the more willingness there is for, you know, that person to be able to share. Yeah. You know, like I did a podcast yesterday with a 19-year-old young guy in here. He reached out. He's sort of getting into the scene, and I'm like, mate, you know, does he have 1 million followers? Does he have 30,000 people listening to a show? No, not at all. But, you know, it's that I personally love doing those type of things more than even going on someone's show who does have, you know, millions of listeners. Because you know, it's that ability to be able to. Because when I was 19, I would have loved for someone to throw me a bone. You know, I would have loved for someone to you know, put their hand down and sort of to reach for me and grab me up and pull me up, etc. So
yes,
yeah, mate. Credit to you. Let's do this.
Love it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Look, we've got to start off with the first question that I ask all the podcast guests, mate, and it's an interesting one. It is, what did you always want to be when you grew up?
Wow. Maybe it's because I'm back on the podcast train, right? Like we've been talking. I got asked this question yesterday, and I probably spent a lot longer than I presumed that I would be. The reason being is this question is actually in my book. So yes. I actually have this in as one of my exercises that I take people through, and it's like, what did you want to be when you grow up? Because I believe there's a direct link to what you're doing now or what you want to be doing still now, right? But what you thought it was back then is just a component of the actual desirable outcome of it. So for me, I wanted to be an actor, right? I wanted to be an actor, and that was purely because I just loved entertaining people. I loved sharing with people, and I was a class clown. You know, I just loved the whole acting. I was the only kid who enjoyed speeches when it came around every year. I was the only kid who enjoyed, you know, drama class. Well, there's a few of us, but, you know, I was certainly the most excitable about it. Yeah. You know, and I loved it because it gave me an opportunity to entertain, and that's where I felt like that's where I belonged, you know. And going through, you know, my business career and entrepreneurial career, etc., what I've uncovered, and again, writing my book and going through this personal development journey over the last 12 years, what that really was I just wanted to, and like at the core essence of it all, when I broke it down, I just wanted to see people like smile, and I wanted to see people have an aha. That's what I wanted to do. And I thought that's the only way I could do that back then was being a class clown or being a bit of a, you know, doing skits at school, and because that's what gave me that, or that's what gave the person that aha moment, or I got to see them smile. Yes. Because I didn't know anything else, right? To now, though, it's you know, whether I'm on stage, whether I'm doing a podcast, whether I'm talking with you, you know, I set an intention before every single podcast, every single thing that I do. I'm like, how can I blow your mind? Right? I'm sitting here going, because what that's going to do is going to put me into a mindset of, am I going to deliver the best potential podcast that I could possibly do right now? So I love when I'm sitting here with someone, whether I'm interviewing someone or someone's interviewing me. My goal is, if I can blow your mind, it's going to blow other people's mind. It's going to stop and make them think.
Yep.
Right. So it's that aha of, oh, there's something else here that I've been missing. So what I thought was an actor has turned into, I'm still trying to find out what that actual answer is. Like, I'm still haven't grown up yet. What do I want to be?
Yeah.
But definitely someone who has impact on people's lives,
yes,
and to be able to witness it.
Yep.
So like, you could tell me that I've had an impact on 10 million people living in the Amazon jungle or whatever, and I'm like, great. All I need to see is one person have the impact. You know what I mean? So I'm a very visual, I'm a very vibrational type person where if I see it and I can feel it,
yep,
that's what I'm searching for.
Yeah. And you're so right. Like, even if we, the next little thing that I wanted to do is get you to do a bit of a 60 seconds, the backstory of Brett Campbell. And, you just mentioned that the correlation between what we want to be when we grow up and what we actually do. In your case, perfect scenario, helping people, giving value, giving people those aha moments. So can you give us a bit of a snapshot into what you have done in the past that relates to that?
60 seconds. Wowza. Okay.
Thereabouts, mate.
Time me. Here we go. I'm going to try and distill this. So I always get asked a question around when was it that I realized I was an entrepreneur? Like, there wasn't a moment where I realized. I've always known. I've always internally known that there's this thing inside of me that made me different to other people. Didn't know what it was. At the time, I just felt different. Yep. So I come from I was born in Australia. When I was 4 years old, I was living in a caravan park. My last memory of living in the caravan park was me walking into the caravan, my mum yelling, asking for help, and my dad was about to throw through the caravan window. And that was the last memory I had of that caravan park and my father, because my mother and sister and myself jumped on an airplane. We moved to New Zealand. So I grew up a very lost young boy. I had no male role models. But I was always seeking. I was always seeking for something because I knew there was something out there, but I just had no idea. Kicked out of high school from talking too much. Became a cabinet maker because it was the only job available. From day one, I wanted to own the cabinet making factory. So I knew that there was something weird about me because I was like, I don't want to just work here. I want to own this place.
Yeah.
So I've always had a drive of being relentless and trying to achieve as much as I could. Realized quickly from day one that wasn't what I was meant to do, but I stuck it out for 5 years. Unbelievable. Until it got to a point where it was that bad that I just gave up. I left, went to university for a year, realized that was another waste of time. I wasn't going to give another 4 years to uni. Jumped on an airplane with my golf clubs and a suitcase, moved to the surfers paradise here in Gold Coast to start what is now my entrepreneurial career. Let's call it 12 years ago. Landed here. Since then, built a number of companies. At its time, the fastest growing fitness franchise here in Australia, fastest growing fitness academy. We were one of the first pioneers in the online info space, in the fitness space, back in 2012, 13. And then the journey sort of took over, and, it was people were asking me, hey, can you show me how you did that? So then that led to, sure. And I was coaching and mentoring business owners. And then, of course, there was still missing parts to that where people were going, you're teaching me this stuff, but I'm just not doing it and I don't know how to do it, right? Yeah. You can lead a horse to water, jump on their neck, but you can't make them drink it.
Yep.
And then that led into, can you just do it for me? And, that was about 18 months knocking at the door, people going, can you do it for me? Can you just do it? Can you just do it? I'm like, no. The last thing I want to do is open up an agency. So me being me, I opened up a bloody agency 2 years ago. And since then, we're a multi-award winning agency. Fastest growing digital growth agency here in Australia, and mate, we're here to take over the world. So,
and you're well on your way to doing that, mate. So well done, congrats on all the success.
And I apologise, that took 2 minutes and 15 seconds. I timed it. Damn it!
Did well timed it, mate.
There's a lot of fat to cut off that.
Exactly, that's the very, very abbreviated version. So no, that's good, mate. Just before we get into a little bit more around the business/marketing side of things. With, we have mentioned you back on the podcast train. Can you tell me why someone in your position would be doing and, putting so much time and effort into a podcast and not doing, big media releases and TV and all that sort of stuff? What's your reasoning behind it?
Yeah, so the answer to that is I'm doing everything. So let me rewind back to 2 years and 2 months ago when we sat down and looked at, okay, so we're going to build, at the time it was Campbell Media Group.
Mm-hmm.
From day one, the goal has been to remove me from the business.
Yep.
Because I'm the sticking point of every single part of this business as it's grown. Because I was the guy who started. I was running the ads for our first ever client.
You were the face.
I was doing everything. I was doing our tax returns. I was doing the bloody, payroll. I was the guy. So
yes.
So with the intention around it was like, from day one, remove me from each aspect of the business as fast as we possibly could, and bring in someone who is of equal or better than me at that particular role, someone who really loves that, who, like, for me, the last thing I want to do is sit down and create a Facebook ad.
Yep.
Or a LinkedIn ad or a Google ad or whatever ad.
Yep.
Like, that shit does not get me excited.
Yep.
Right? But there are people out there who love that. Right? Our team are obsessed about that. They goof on that stuff, and that's perfect. Yep. Right? Because that's what we need. So recently, the goal, like I said, from day one was to remove myself from the business, and we had a 2-year goal around that. And 2 years literally ticked over, and it was, I've transitioned inside the company to a role of, we made up a role basically, of chief evangelist.
Yep.
Right. So what that basically means is I'm out there now doing this. This is what I do for the business.
Yep.
I sit here, I talk about it, and all it takes is, and this is the beauty why people, why podcasting and just putting your hand up and going, you know what? I'm happy to do the interview with whomever. If I've got spots in my calendar, I don't care if you're Joe Blogs and you want to do a podcast, so I'm going to give you an opportunity, right?
Yep.
Because someone listening to that, you only need 2 people to listen to that one podcast, and one of those people actually knows someone else who knows someone else, and all of a sudden it's like, boom. You never know. When you trace things back,
yes.
When you reverse engineer success, it's unbelievable where it can stem from.
Yes.
So for me, it's part of what I do for the company.
Yep.
Growing, obviously, internally, I love growing the business, the culture, visionary of the company as well, along with my business partner. I'm not stuck in day-to-day operations unless I want to be, or unless I go and stick my head in and have a bit of a deep dive into it.
Yeah.
But the reality is so why am I doing this? Is because it's part of my role within the business. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, and especially founders, they don't really have roles inside the business.
Yes.
They do a bit of this and that, and it's like, well, you still need to. I see myself as though I work for Klaxon.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I just happen to own it as well.
Yep.
Right. But separate to that, I've got to turn up every day. I've got things I've got to do. I've got to hit KPIs as well. And I know a lot of solopreneurs or founders listening probably like, oh, damn it. Like, it's nice to sort of fly under the radar slightly because it's you.
I want the freedom. Yeah.
You want the freedom. It's like, cool. As long as you know what comes with that as well. So
yeah. And look, I think a massive point for people to take away here, with the audience majority being of this podcast being in the SME space, the fact that someone like yourself who has built a multi-million-dollar award-winning agency, you're looking to take things international. You've gotten yourself to the position where, you believe it's important to be the chief evangelist of the business, right? How many SMEs, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, how many of them actually think about, okay, how are we evangelizing the business? Who is going to be the chief evangelist? Like, do you think it's something that's missing from a lot of businesses?
It is. And the beautiful thing about it, because that was the intention from day one, we hired and we delegated and we found people for specific roles. Because what can happen is when you're a founder of a business, you can be caught up doing everything.
Yeah, you create a job for yourself.
Yeah. Like, you're calling shots on this, you're calling shots on that. Whenever I need to call shots, that's a barrier as far as I'm concerned. Like, if I have to call certain shots, that's a barrier. Now, I'll obviously have our leadership meetings and so forth with the team and where required. But the reality is once you can let the rope go and realize that in order for the business to actually fully grow and develop, you're never going to be able to call every shot. You have to let it go, and you have to entrust in the people in your team to be able to, to do their job, because that's what they're hired for. That's what they get paid for. So I think we are an anomaly, certainly an outlier when it comes to that, being able to have someone whose core role is to do that. Dan Sullivan, the founder of Strategic Coach, so it's a big multi-million-dollar coaching company in Canada. He has this concept called unique ability. And when I heard it, I heard it about 5 years ago, and the concept of unique ability is, what's that thing that only you can do really? What's that thing that is your zone? People call it a zone of genius or whatever. Just what's that thing that you are the absolute weapon at?
Yeah, yeah.
No one can evangelize Klaxon like I can.
Yep.
No one can. So it makes absolute sense for me to do that.
Yes.
I'm sure people can do an amazing job and a good job at it. But they won't be better than me at it.
It's in your blood.
Right. That's why I'll sit here and do 12 hours of podcasts a day talking about it.
Yes.
Because that's what I love doing, and I happen to be pretty good at it. Do you know what I mean? So finding that thing that you're extremely good at. Now, there's a lot of business owners, small business owners out there who are what I call accidental entrepreneurs. Right, where they're an accidental entrepreneur, where they've stumbled across something, they've created something, and there's a market for it, and you're, oh my God, now I've got a business, but they don't have this big visionary, audacious, relentless drive for success and achievement. And you don't have to either. So let's, caveat that where you don't have to. But sometimes they're in a role that they shouldn't be in inside their own company. I think most businesses would do better if they actually found someone who's a good CEO or who's a good COO or a general manager, and you work on the things that you're good at.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. It can be such limiting to growth, can't it? When the business owner, the founder, it does just get stuck in that day-to-day role, and there is nobody out there evangelizing for the business or making sure that that real growth is happening, because it's just all bogged down, and then that just creates a ceiling that you can't get past. So yeah, 100%. With all of your success in having started and running multiple businesses, what are the quotation marks secret ingredients or ingredient in your opinion? Is it to building a successful business or businesses?
Yep, building a community and a database is number one, hands down. And a database and a community of people who are interested in the thing that you potential that you have. So let's take a couple of steps back before that even, is identify an area that you would like to work in, right?
Yep.
Identify if there is a want and a need for it.
Yep.
Provide a solution for it, and then go absolute gangbusters on generating leads and awareness around your product. That's the secret, man. There's and again, I was talking about this a little bit earlier around this concept where people are blinded by the upside, right? People are blinded by the upside and they don't see the downside. So an easy way to articulate this, when I was 15, I got my learner's license. Yep. And I was in town, and I was talking to a guy. He had a for sale sign on his car, and I'm like, oh man, I want that. How much is your car? He goes, $1,500. I said, oh, cool. I had $1,500. I saved it up. And I said, come down to my house and I'll get my dad to look at the car, and we'll buy it. He drives it up in the driveway. I walk inside. I said, Dad, my stepdad, I said, Dad, come and have a look. I want to buy this car. He goes, looked out the window. Within 5 seconds, he goes, we ain't buying that heap of shit. Tell him to go. I'm like, what? So I went out and I said, sorry, we can't. I was burnt. I was like, what? Why'd you do that? But when I found out, the car was an absolute bomb. It was a piece of crap, and it wasn't worth $500.
Yeah.
But I was blinded by the upside of, me and my boys are going to be cruising at the car. I'll get some sounds, get some subs in the back.
Yeah.
This is going to be epic. So I was blinded by I was blinded.
Yes.
The upside was just so good in my eyes that I didn't even see the downside. People get sucked into this. You can make $100,000 overnight. You can if you have a large database of people who want your stuff.
Yeah.
The day that we cracked the 100K in sales in a day with an online product, for me it was sort of like, oh yeah, it was expected.
Yeah.
Like at that time it was expected.
Yeah.
Because I'd learned that, my first ever product launch that I did, it flopped on its face. I spent over 2,000 hours tracked, because I tracked it with a timer, literally.
Yeah.
Outside of my personal training when I was doing all of that too.
Yeah.
I tracked the time and I launched a product, and I sold like 20 units at like $20. It was ridiculous. I made $400 or $500, which I didn't because I spent thousands in softwares and all of that. And I was like, oh man, why didn't it work? And the reason being is I had 350 people on my database. I sent out an email blast to 350 people. I would probably be fair to say that at least 330 of those had no idea who I was. I picked up business cards from businesses and I'd add them to my database, and I thought, this is the one.
That'll do.
I'm building a database.
Yes,
That's what I thought building a database was.
Yep.
I'd like walk into Harcourts and I'd grab all the real estate agents. There's like 7 of them, bang, 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 grab a card each, sending out emails. I'm like, oh, I got this. This is how you make money online. And that flopped on its ass until I became obsessed with, I get it. I need to generate leads.
Yep.
And then went on an obsessive lead generation, when I say we created the fastest growing fitness franchise and fastest growing fitness college, not because I've got any extra special sauce, it's because I had a database. I was building the databases.
Yeah, you had the connections.
That was it.
Yeah.
So biggest piece of advice right now, people are more worried about followers and how many likes they've got and how many comments they're getting and the engagement on social. Don't get me wrong, they're important metrics.
Yep.
But you cannot take your eyes off having a database.
Yeah. Love it. What, from yourself being a very successful agency owner to myself being a very new startup agency owner, what is it, do you think, and do you find, generally marketing isn't given the attention or made a priority the way it should be in a business, and can sometimes be a pretty scary, daunting, dirty word to business owners? Why do you think that's the case when someone like yourself is saying, community, database, leads, they're the number one important thing in a business? Why is it often the case where it's just not made a priority in a business?
Yep. So let me reiterate, firstly, is marketing, I believe, is the most important pillar in any business, because without lead flow coming through, you've got nothing. You could be the best kept secret.
Perfect.
Yeah, great.
Yep.
What's that? You could have the best recipe. You could have the best shoes, the best clothing line, the best product.
No one knows about it.
Yep. You could be the smartest tool, sharpest tool in the shed, but if you're sitting in the corner in a toolbox locked up underneath, no one's going to know, right? So it's a conversation I'm having a lot, and you'll start to have a lot more being in the same space. You'll start to identify that there's a big shift from big business really starting to understand that online lead generation is the new age of marketing. Like CMOs traditionally were, they sort of had, and I went to actually an event yesterday which was around CMOs, and the question around actually the lifespan of an average CMO is like 18 months in a business.
Wow.
Which is so crazy right now.
Yeah.
And that's predicated on the CMO up until, let's call it 12 months ago, maybe a little bit more. They were responsible for just awareness, like how much awareness have we got, how much market share have we generated. But now it's like you're in charge of key metrics, like a CMO has such an important role within a company. If they're not hitting the targets and metrics and KPIs and leads, and because then it's not just leads, it's like quality of leads. It's like, there's so much that goes into it. And a lot of businesses are starting to wake up now, especially the bigger end of town, that marketing is actually super important.
Yep.
I reiterate this because, I think this point here generally lands where the reason why we see so much conversation out on social right now, like there's groups on how do you run ads? There's so many Facebook groups where it's like, I've got a client and this happened and here's my ad. What would you do? Right? You see a lot of that. And that's because the industry of, let's call it paid advertising online, digital advertising, is we are in the cake batter stage.
Yeah.
Right? The batter hasn't even been put into the oven yet, so it hasn't even had a chance to set. No one really knows what they're doing in this industry.
Yep.
The reason why you don't see on social media people asking, what number do I put in the W-2 fields and wages and salaries and my BAS return and zero? You don't see that conversation because guess what you do? You reach out to a bloody accountant.
Yeah.
And they are a fully fledged cake, right? They've been baked for many a year. They're an industry. And there's going to be a huge shift in the next 12 months, 18 months, where businesses are going to either have to create an absurd amount of internal training to develop a marketing team, or they're just going to have to utilize agency.
Yep. And on top of that, what are your thoughts around, and it's something that we're dealing with at the moment. So we've got one problem where business owners are not aware or scared or, just not giving marketing the attention it deserves. But then if they do make that decision, how important is it to go all in, to, allocate a large enough budget to have an impact? Like a lot of the time we'll speak to a business who's like, yep, we know we need to get better at social, we need to be doing lead gen, but the budget's like, minimal, really, really minimal.
Yeah.
And what we're finding now with, a lot of our, not necessarily larger clients, but clients that are spending a decent amount of money are, surprise, surprise, getting the best results, getting the most traction. So
of course.
Can you speak to that? Can you give some insight on,
I mean, a lot of business owners think marketing, when they hire an agency, they've found a unicorn, right? Yeah. The reality is, and just because you pay for a service, it doesn't mean like you're not, because it's a very interesting conversation. People think because they pay to utilize an agency to do the work that they are guaranteed that they should be getting X return. And I'm putting in $1 and I need $10 back. It's like, well, geez, that's just not how the world works, right?
Yeah.
We can do our extreme best to make sure it happens and implement the best strategy and pivot and be agile and all of those variables, right? But business owners are going into it with the wrong expectations, and a lot of them are getting a big slap around the face from it too. Because unfortunately there's people out there who are guaranteeing results, and I'm like, I go to sleep at night. You know what I mean? So we don't guarantee any result. We guarantee that we'll give you the best strategy that we could possibly come up with the best minds and the best results, and here's what we've done, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Yeah. But what's happening as well is a lot of business owners who are engaging in the services, they want you to find gold, but they only want to give you a rake.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I need a sharp shovel, a big, strong shovel that's going to allow me to dig 8 feet, 20 feet, 100 feet if we have to find the gold.
Yep.
So coming back to that point is why most businesses go wrong when it comes to they don't know how much they should spend or what should they spend. It's because they don't even know what their commercials are. They don't even know how much they could spend to actually invest. Like if you look at Uber last year, right? Uber was $2.7 billion in the red. The year before 2017, 1.7 billion. The year before that, 1.5 billion. They ain't making no money, right? They ain't making no money right now, right? So if you can look at it, your business is either set up like this. One is it's going to be bootstrapped and you'll slowly grow it over a 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 year period. The other alternative is you really work out your commercials, exactly how much you can spend to acquire a client, how long you can go without the funds and withhold that debt within inside the business, so you can then, you might start making money on month 6, month 12 from a client, right? And it goes, how much cash flow do you have in the reserves? Do you need to get investment, outside investment? Do you need to get a bank loan? Because trying to start a digital strategy with $5,000, you're pushing shit uphill.
Yeah.
And the reality is it's not going to work. Right? So you need to really get clear on the metrics of your business, your product. I talk to many business owners, and I'm talking some into the hundreds of millions of turnover a year. So the conversations are different from a small business owner or solopreneur who's wanting to get some leads for their business, right? But the same rule applies. It's going, what does your product cost? How much does it cost for you to deliver it? What can you upsell, cross-sell to increase average order value?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, like we had a funnel in one of our online products. So we had a funnel that I'd lose money on the front end. So let's say, just for easy maths, let's say it costs me $40 to sell a $30 product.
Yep. Okay.
Most people go, I'm losing $10 each time. Yep, but 70% of our people took the upsell, which was $30. Right?
Yep.
Once you work the mathematics out, you're like, oh, I get it. I had one product as well that was losing on the first upsell, and it only made money on the second upsell.
Yep.
And I knew that 35 people would take the third upsell. Yep. 35% of people would take the third upsell.
Yep.
So when you look at that, you're like, cool, all of a sudden I'm actually prepared to, on the front end, my product's $30, but I'm happy to spend $60 now.
Yes.
Because I know I'll make a $20 net gain from the whole purchase.
Yes.
Then it becomes a game. That's when the ATM starts to happen.
Yeah.
But without knowing your metrics and your numbers and your data, you're pissing in the wind.
That's it, 100%. Mate, I think, just from that short conversation, obviously there's a clear message there for businesses that, marketing needs to be taken seriously. You need to know your numbers. You need to be able to either, be willing to invest the amount of, and as you said, like once you know your numbers, then, making those bigger investments, the right investment isn't so scary because you've done the work. You're not just crossing your fingers and hoping. So, and I think for any business, speaking from an agency point of view, any business that is thinking about employing an agency or getting some external help, the agency should be helping them to get that message clarified, right? Get them to help them get their numbers down so that when the agency comes to them and says, this is the monthly cost or the campaign cost, and they go, wow, it's not that scary because it's all been worked out previously. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, look, another way to look at it, if you've ever thought about hiring an agency, is this. Because people balk, like we have a minimum monthly management at a starting fee of $5,000 a month, and that's on the low end up to $65,000 a month.
Yep.
Right. And for a lot of people, like, whoa, $5,000, that's so much, and then I've got to pay ad spend on that. Yeah, of course you do. Think about this: $5,000 a month, that's $60,000 a year. You can't even go and hire a junior marketer to come inside your team to work on your business. Like, get your head in check. Realize that your marketing is the most important thing. If you're not prepared to invest into it, get out of business because you don't deserve to be there. That's that's the cold hard truth.
100%.
And start looking at it with perspective. So for us, we've got a team of copywriters, we've got a team of creators, we've got a team of strategists, a team of tech, a team of data analysts, and then of course the senior leadership team that are involved in. And our secret sauce where we really win is, we don't just run campaigns, we grow and scale companies.
Yes.
And the 5 lenses that I talk about that are required for ultimate success to create winning campaigns is: you need the technician, you need the creative, you need the copywriter, you need the strategist, and then you need a business builder.
Yep.
So if you know how to build business, the stuff's easy.
Yeah.
Right? And like I said, a lot of business owners, accidental entrepreneurs, they don't know how to build business. They're trying to do their best, and hey, I get it, because hey, I'm doing the same. We're all still trying to have a crack.
Yep.
Right. But people are going, I need more leads. I need this. It's like, no, you need to look at your business under a microscope and actually come to the reality of, do you actually have what it takes to build a business, or do you need to bring someone internally who can help drive this machine?
Yep. Yeah.
So
that's the cold hard fact.
It is. Because then you try and hire a copywriter and a creative and a designer into your team, you're looking at $200,000 to $300,000 a year salary just to have a team of 3 max, let's call it 4 people, and then you have to hope that they know what they're doing.
Yes, that's the point I was going to make too. Yeah, exactly.
That's the other side of it.
Yeah.
One of the biggest obstacles we ran into, like how big's your agency?
So we've got 4 at the moment.
Okay, so you're going to run into a problem if you have desire for scale, and I'll throw you a bone here. You're going to run into a problem where you can't find talent.
Yep.
Right?
Got
You're
it
just
now.
not going to be able to. Yep. And you're going to be turning away clients because you can't service them. And that's because there is a talent pool that is extremely slim out there.
Yep.
Right? The talent pool is sort of like the outback of Australia. There might be a little puddle here and there, and there might be a couple of little unicorns of people who have had a crack and so forth.
Yes.
You're going to have to quickly create training that can take. So from my mindset, where I'm at in the puzzle of the equation is, we need to be able to create something that I could take and put my mother through, who has no idea about social media, and then she could come out and become a really good ad buyer.
Yep.
Right, but that's going to take some serious training and some serious undertaking and serious financial commitment. Like, you got to be willing to bring someone on board to your team if they are a novice, and train them appropriately for the first few months before they even touch campaigns.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a big burden that's a big business burden that you got to run, but it comes back again to the investment. Know your numbers on what it costs to acquire a lead. Know your numbers on how long you can train up a team member and what that's going to be worth and the capabilities of that. And, there's and again, because it's the industry is so fresh, there's really no courses out there that can make people, maybe a handful that could spit people out and they become proficient, but they'll become proficient in one area.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a jungle out there, man, and it's exciting for us because we're carving our own path out there, and I want more people to win in agency as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm on your side. I don't see you as competition at all. I go, man, hopefully you can build something that's great so you can help service, because there's no way we can service everyone.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Exactly.
We turn people away all the time, and the reality is off the top of my head, there's really no agency that I'm going to send people to.
Yeah.
Maybe one or two that if they fit the requirement, because that's quite a niche one, but it's because it's still so new, it's still so fresh.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I want to just wrap up that little section by, for anybody who is out there considering an agency, do your due diligence. Like, do a bit of research, find someone who's got the stats and the credibility, who has some results in your space, and make the best decision and investment for your business.
Yep. And the cheapest is not always the best. Right?
Cheapest is often not the best, would you agree?
Yeah.
Especially in the marketing space.
Of course.
You get what you pay for.
Yep. It's like going to get that fake Gucci handbag in the streets of Thailand. Cool. It'll last for 4 weeks maybe.
100%.
And the stitch starts coming off. But here's the other part to it, right? You know that it's fake.
Yeah.
You know that it's not real, and you know that you haven't made the best decision. Same thing when you hire a cheap ass agency. You know that's probably in your gut feel. Yeah. You're like, I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I just thought I hoped it might have worked. It's like, oh, I get it. We're all trying to do what we can.
Mr. Brett Campbell, what social media platform do you think people are currently sleeping on, that they are not giving it enough notice? What do you reckon?
It would have to be probably LinkedIn, to be honest. That sort of made a bit of a, and for me, it's probably because that's, I'm putting a bit more attention into that. I'm paying a lot more attention to it. I still think people are sleeping on Facebook. Like I still think there's a lot of opportunity in Facebook still to be had. So there's a few opportunities in there that I see going by the wayside. And the biggest that they're probably sleeping on is the phone.
Yeah.
Get on the phone and call someone, talk to someone.
That's right. Make a phone call, make connections, build that community.
That's it.
Mate, just before we let you go, for anybody who's followed your journey and knows you quite well, they'll know what I'm talking about here, mate. But is there any chance that the vlog's going to make a return?
Mate, it's been on the list of requirements. So I hope it does. When I say I hope, it'll come back, but it'll be different.
Yeah.
But it'll be very purposeful for the now.
Love it. Mr. Brett Campbell, thank you so much for your time, mate. Really appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing, inspiring us young agency owners, but also business owners in general. And where can people find out more about yourself and Klaxon?
You can go to klaxon.agency, or you just search me on any socials, Brett Campbell Official. You'll be able to find me there. And if you go search Brett Campbell, ask the guy if he's willing to give up the URL to me.
Yeah, that's it. We should start a bit of a petition. Get Brett his handle back.
Yeah, give me my handle. Tell you what, my brettcampbell.com, I don't own it. A guy who does mosaics has it. So anyway, happy days to Brett Campbell, the mosaic builder.
Exactly. Mate, thanks so much for your time. Hope to talk to you in the near future.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you having me. And to anyone listening out there, would always love, as much as I love to talk and share, I care more about what you do about it if you do anything about it. So make sure you tag Anthony or myself and, what your biggest takeaway from our conversation was.
Love it.
Let us know we're on the right direction.
Thanks, mate. So that's it for another episode. Thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. If you love the show, the greatest form of feedback you can give is to leave a review. It helps the show grow, it helps more people find it, and I would really appreciate that. Head over to anthonygmurphy.com where you'll find all the show notes and links for today's episode. And if you just want to stay up to date with me and see what I'm up to, head over to Instagram, Anthony G. Murphy, and say g'day. And I will talk to you in the next episode.